Hi everyone, I'm Kiki and today we're gonna be continuing the playthrough of Andromeda 6. So last time we met Oppo, who is this lizard dude right here. I'm not too sure if he's actually a dude or if he's some kind of genderless species, because they do keep calling him they and not him or her, so I think that he must be some kind of species that just doesn't have a gender, which is very interesting because he's obviously an alien. So let us just continue the game. And by the way, he kept talking about having slaves and that he doesn't pay his workers, which is a little bit concerning, so I don't think we should get on Oppo's bad side. So let us continue, and there we go. We're going to have so much fun. And the streets of Nos Vega are a minefield of neon lights, tiny shop fronts and stalls, and all manner of creatures roaming the city. Let me just get my laptop a little bit closer to me, and yeah, I am playing on a laptop, but that's just like temporarily until I get my new PC, so hopefully that happens sometime soon. So it doesn't take us long to reach our destination, stopping outside a large arch-shaped building with a fluorescent sign in the front reading "The Ark." Oh, that is so beautiful! My god, I'm really impressed by the artwork of this game. Whoever made it, I actually follow the creators of the game on Tumblr, which I know it's kind of cringe. I know who uses Tumblr, but actually there's a pretty good base of, a fan base of Andromeda 6 people over there, and it's really interesting. They make amazing artwork, they write fan fiction, they pour so much, creative work into this. So it really tells me that it's a very good game. Yeah. So I'm just gonna continue, and you can follow me on Tumblr if you would like. My name is XIKIZOID there, just like my channel name, and I do post all of my videos there. So if you want to be notified and you use Tumblr a lot, you can just do that. Follow me on there. I would appreciate that. So the bar we entered is crowded, overflowing with humans, Catalphans, Arachnos, and some species I've never seen before. The crowd in here is so diverse, so colorful and unique that I can't help but let my eyes wander. And a small group of Arachnos hides away in a corner to the back, low hisses and chirps the only thing to be heard amongst their heated discussion. And I really love I was saying about the art style. It's very, very beautiful. This reminds me of the cantina in Star Wars, because it's just so like dingy and kind of dark, but also weirdly lit. And it's obviously like a very green and gray colors, which is very beautiful to me. I think this looks amazing, especially the those things in the back, the little tubes of liquid. That's beautiful. So waiters hurry through the crowd, dressed in tight dark outfits. Most look human, with varying degrees of bionic alterations, synthetic limbs, cybernetic enhancements, and some of them even look more animal than human. A couple of Catalphans stand out amongst the crowd, their gills shimmering brightly with some sort of pearlescent substance. It doesn't take long to realize there are no Telari, and I wonder idly what that is. Because we are Telari after all. We are not humans. We are Telari, which is another race from Telaran. And I think that actually Rayona is also Telari, so our skin must also be blue and our hair is white like a witcher. So I feel a little out of place here as one of only two Telari, and the various sets of eyes that settle on us make the flush that spreads across my face even more fierce. This feels like the kind of place someone would come to escape, to disappear in a crowd, lose yourself for a night or even forever. I wonder if the crew feels the same, if there are things, places, people that they too wish to escape. The Ark is most definitely a world of its own, and I wonder how deeply it would drag me down the rabbit hole if I let it. I don't like it, I love it, or I'm not sure how to feel about it. I don't think we were going to like this planet, so let's just say I don't like it. It's too much, the colors, the crowd, the noise. Yeah, of course, I would feel the same way, honestly. Whenever I'm in like a crowded place, for example, if I go to a mall or something like that and there's like thousands of people there, I always feel very overwhelmed. I get nauseous, my head starts spinning, I start sweating, so it's really... I think this character would feel the same way because she is so confused, and on top of that she doesn't know her name, she doesn't know anything about herself. I mean, she knows her name, we figured that out, but she doesn't know anything else. And there's just so much you must discover about everything, you know. So I find myself thinking I would rather be back on the ship, and even that in itself is a curious thing. I've barely been with the crew a week, and while the A6 clearly isn't home, it's the only familiar thing I have. That's true though, that's true. And June is beside me to find him as calm and collected as always despite our surroundings. Though on the outside he is the perfect picture of serenity, the way his eyes rake over the scene in front of us leads me to believe that there's more going on inside that head than I expected. Our hands brush slightly, and a chill rubs up my arm, freezing me on the spot, of course. When our eyes meet again, June smiles at me, and a little of the knot in my stomach starts to unwind. More than a few eyes to watch as we enter, sizing up the newest patrons of the club. Most seem to know the crew, and while some are friendly, offering greetings or simply the nod of their head, others are not so much. The crew doesn't seem to mind the odd unfriendly glare they receive, either ignoring it completely or in some cases giving it back just as rough. Don't wander too far, it's safe enough in the club, but don't leave this place on your own. Calderon gives me a hard look before he heads towards the bar, and I resist the urge to roll my eyes at him. Damon grins at me knowingly, nudging past me to join the captain. Okay. We'll meet back here in a couple of hours. Ayame flashes a smile, skipping towards a curtain near the back of the room. When she pushes it to the side, I get a glimpse of the stage so long it almost looks like a catwalk. June lets out a weary sigh from beside me before striding off to catch up to the pilot. I smile to myself a little watching him go. There is something I like about the way he seems to look out for everyone, which is true. June is a very caring person, but I think maybe he's like too caring, you know, maybe if I'm not sure. So, and by the way, aren't we supposed to just walk around but never alone in this planet? Because that's what June told us. Oh, there we go. Don't get into too much trouble, Bash says. Bash grins, and I watch as he heads to a separate room off to the side of the building, Rayona hot on his heels. So we can choose... I mean, I hope that we can choose who we follow. So I peek through the door a little before the curtain floats back to its place after them, catching a glimpse of felt-lined tables and plastic ships of differing colors. Deciding I would like to learn more about the crew and my future with it, I push my way through the crowd and I find myself at the bar. Here's our little stowaway. Damon grins at me, wide and wolfish, leaning sideways against the bar. What will it be, newbie? Red wine, whatever you're having, a cocktail, and just water. I think we should drink just water, because if we get drunk, we're gonna just lose our bearings, and that's not something you should do on a planet that you've never been to. I mean, don't do it in a city you've never been to, and don't do it in your own city if you don't remember anything about yourself. So just water. I don't miss the unimpressed purse of his lips, though I choose to ignore it as he signals the bartender ordering our drinks. If this place is as dangerous as I've been led to believe, it would be best if I kept my senses sharp, which is true. Always keep your senses sharp. Do you guys drink? I've drink very, very rarely, and I'm thinking of just completely quitting it because, for example, I would drink like once a month or once every 2 months, which is nothing. But yeah, and I can drink alcohol because my tummy gets a little bit too sensitive. So Calderon comes and says, "Don't you two have anywhere else to go?" "Oh, I'm sorry, Commander. Are we disturbing you in the bar stool of solitude?" "Oh, don't call me that." Damon grins, and immediately I know he set Calderon exactly where he wanted to. But it's such a good title. Calderon tenses shoulders tight as Damon turns to me. "You see, our dear captain here was a commander in Orsana's guard." "Orsana's guard? What's that?" To my surprise, Calderon is the one who answers. They're the law here in the system. Their base is on Goldis. Something about the way he says this intrigues me. There's a kind of loathing in his eyes, a bitter disdain. Why did you leave? I didn't have a choice. I want to ask more, but he doesn't seem to want to talk about it. I try a different question instead. Do you know the royal family? No, I was stationed in the city, the Bronze District mostly. That's where they hide the street rats of Siltavi, stick 'em in factories and work 'em till they bleed. Calderon gives Damon a look, though the latter only shrugs and takes a long drink from his glass. What, I can give the newbie here a little background on the planet we snatched her from? Okay. Calderon makes an unimpressed sound, a kind of growl in the back of his throat, and Damon turns back to me, arms folded over his chest. So, he's like that. Okay, so let's see if we can hotwire that brain of yours with a bit of info, shall we? Yeah, we shall. Silta V has 3 districts. Gold, which is the home of luxury items, jewels, high-end tech and fashion couture. Think of all the pompous, hoity-toity oh my god, a-holes you've ever met, and chances are that's where they're from. I resist the urge to glance at Calderon, and I think Damon notices by the knowing glint in his eyes. Silver, technology and trade, all transport to and from the capital goes through this district, and is closely monitored by the guard. And bronze, which are factories, power plants and steelworks, the dregs of Goldis, and where they assign only the fiercest of the guard. Damon shoots a quick look at Calderon before whispering to me. In my opinion, this is where they station the soldiers they want to punish. Ooh, what if Calderon was there? Maybe I'm not from Goldis after all. God forbid you end up being from Cursa. What is Cursa? Well, I guess we're gonna find out. My planet breeds warriors, I'll have you know. Oh, it's Damon's planet. Oh yeah, what happened to you then? Damon grins. Oops, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. Damon grins wolfishly, his steady gaze sizing up the captain in a way that has him narrowing his eyes into thin slits of blue. Come closer and I'll tell you. Calderon rolls his eyes, clearing his throat for good measure. Last I heard you detested your planet. Why defend it now? You want to talk about detesting planets? You look pretty content to sit on your A instead of trying to find a way back to yours. Mamas must be so worried about their precious golden boy, and let's not forget that... Watch your mouth. Or what, Cal? The mood around us grows thick, tensions hanging heavy in the air. I almost decide to head off and find someone else, leaving the two of them to their argument until Calderon lets out a heavy sigh. I don't want to talk about that. Damon bangs a fist on the bar in front of him, and it's the first time I've seen him genuinely angry. Aren't you the one who's always telling me to talk about stuff? We have more important things to worry about. The fact that Calderon hasn't fully snapped at Damon surprises me, and I wonder about the nature of their relationship. Yeah, they look like brothers actually. If you look at their eyes, they definitely look like brothers, but they're from 2 different planets, so maybe they have been fostered. Yeah, I think so. Maybe they were adopted from the same family, and they yeah, they were just from 2 different planets. And Damon says, fine, suit yourself. They turn away from each other, both with their shoulders tense. I want to say something, but before I can find the words, I notice Damon staring at me, freezing me in place with that cold, cold stare. Let's talk about something else, shall we? Or rather, someone else. A sense of foreboding settles in my stomach. I'm not sure I like the way Damon grins when he says that. Looks like we have a dilemma on our hands. What exactly are we going to do with you, newbie? The captain rolls his eyes and clears his throat, cutting to the chase. What he means to say is we don't do charity. You can't stay on Andromeda 6 if you're going to be just another mouth to feed. Which means you gotta work. Well, yeah, of course, that's reasonable. Damon looks me up and down, and I swallow thickly. Oh my god. Again, the thick swallows, dude. The thick swallows. This has been happening in every single episode. What is that? So, what kind of work? That's relevant. You just need to choose who you would rather answer to. I can choose anyone? No, the crew already has enough on their hands. They don't need any added burdens. I narrow my eyes at him. His choice of words is poor, but in a way I understand what he means. I don't want to be a burden. Pulling my own weight in exchange for food and accommodation sounds fair enough for me. Yeah, that's true. So it's either me or Damon Stowaway. I'm the captain and he's second in command. It's only fair that the responsibility falls on one of us. Go ahead and choose, newbie. Me or Cal? Ooh, I'm not sure. He growls a little at the nickname, but lets it slide for the time being. Yeah, let me choose. Who should we choose? So let's just recap. Damon is a very mysterious assassin, he calls himself, but he's just the second in command. And he's obviously trying to flirt with us. So I'm not too sure. He looks like he could be very, very manipulative and that he would try to get something from us, you know. But Calderon, on the other hand, he is, I think he has a soft side because he's very easily swayed by Ayame or Aya, the way she wants it to be called. So he's a very tough person, so he would have a lot of demands, work demands for us, but I really am not sure. I think it would be more interesting to choose Damon, so I'm just gonna choose Damon, dude. I'm not entirely confident with my choice, especially when I notice the way Damon is all but devouring me with his steady gaze. I just hope he doesn't make a big deal about it. And in that case, I choose Damon. There we go. Your responsibility now, Damon. Don't go palming it off to anyone from the crew. Yeah, I got it. Don't get your in a twist, Commander. Calderon glowers in response, looking like he would love nothing more than to break his bottle over Damon's skull. Obviously thinking better of it, he takes one last swig of his drink, leaving the bottle on the bar before he turns it and disappears into the crowd. And Damon turns to me, looking nothing short of delighted that the two of us are now alone. So, you gonna drink that or what? I take a polite sip of my drink, my eyes holding his and watching the smirk on his lips tilt higher as the seconds pass. Deciding that if I'm going to be working for the guy, I should probably know more about him. I settle for the question I believe is less likely to get me disemboweled. So what was it like growing up on Cursa? Damon hesitates, swirling the contents of his glass as he weighs his words carefully. I wouldn't call it growing up, more like surviving. Cursa is a bad country. Simple as that. A country planet, I mean to say. Something in his tone gives me pause, and I think there's more to it than he's willing to let on. You were awfully defensive about it with Calderon earlier. Why would anyone want to defend a bad planet? Unless... Damon gives me a hard look and I stop, wondering if I've ever seen the knife before he sinks it into my gut. Luckily for me, it only takes a moment before he shrugs his shoulders, clearly deciding to play a different card. I didn't. I was trying to rattle him, that's all. I'm not sure if you noticed, but it's a rather easy feat. Yeah, that's true. So I raise an eyebrow at him, unconvinced. He's a good liar, I'll give him that. But I don't believe he's as reluctant to talk about it as he thinks he is. It didn't look that way. Damon moves away from me, resting his forearms against the bar and taking in a sharp inhale, probably in an attempt to keep from murdering me where I stand. Maybe I crossed the line, though I can't say I'm sorry for it, but if he really doesn't want to talk about his home, then I'm not going to push him any further. A few moments pass and I finish my drink, preparing to walk away from the bar before a low voice stops me in my tracks. There's nothing about that godforsaken place that's worth sharing, believe me. I study Damon closely, taking in the crease of his forehead, the tightness of his jaw. Or remembering, but unfortunately it's not something you just forget. Believe me when I'm telling you, you're not from Cursa. There's not one single thing about you that comes close to the place I left behind. Okay. He keeps his eyes on his empty glass, though... Oh, I found a spelling mistake. He keeps his eyes on his empty glass, though it's as if he's staring right through it, lost instead inside the remnants of his past. It's a slum, Through and through, there are no schools, no guard, no crown castle. Doesn't give a s about it, being as small and distant as it is. Smack dab in the middle of Terranium, and so you can imagine the leadership. The Council of Iron is a joke, run by the most ruthless clan leaders, fashioning themselves into politicians and constantly fighting amongst themselves. The planet is a haven for crime. Clans and gang wars, gangs run haywire while the rest of them sit around the corner. Sit around and cower at me. And he uses the word them almost as though he refuses to consider himself one of the natives. That sounds rough. And Damon chuckles, though there's no warmth in the sound. When he finally looks at me, his eyes are cold, as hard as flint and steel. Flint and steel, that's a Minecraft reference. So you ain't heard the half of it. And when I say it's a bad place, I mean it. It's almost impossible for those who are born there to make it out alive, free, or on their own. It's either in a body bag, in a handcuffs, or as a member of one of the gangs. It suddenly makes a lot more sense to me why Damon is the way he is. It can't have been easy growing up in a place like that. And was it always that bad? He stops to think, sliding his tongue over his teeth and fixing me with that hard stare. And I don't think so. The land itself isn't that bad, plenty of ground for farming if anyone had the tools or the freedom to do it, but I can't say I've ever cared enough to look into it. Once you make it out, you don't go back, ever. So, how did you make it out? None of your business, newbie. You've asked more than enough questions for now. And his eyes are sharp and a pang of hurt hits me. I only wanted to know more about him. Forget I asked then. My barstool scrapes along the ground as I push it back, intending to ignore him and head off into the club. Oh, cut it out. I don't get why you care so much. I care about my friends, or... Oh, wait a minute, that's my dog. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to go check up on my dog because she actually choked on some water, so she's fine now, don't worry about it. And we're going to say I care about my friends, or it was just a question. I don't know which one he would appreciate more, but I'm gonna say I care about my friends, yeah. He tries to put on a tough front, but I've got glimpses of what is behind that mask, and I know there's so much more to him. I care about the people I consider friends. And friends, huh? I know we're not as close as you and Calderon, but... I know, sorry I hurt your precious feelings. Oh my god. Thinking it's probably best to change the topic while Damon is in a better mood, I asked something else I had been thinking about. Earlier with Apple, what language was Calderon speaking with them? That Arcnos. Do you speak it? Roughly enough to get my work done, but nowhere near as much as our dear Cal does. And he had a fancy education, though I picked it up as I went. And the way he said it, that made it clear he wasn't going to elaborate. And he was threatening the poor thing, using the times we had to bail him out as leverage. And threatening? Have you ever really seen him do anything else? And you're a curious thing, aren't you? Oh, look at his face! His soft smile takes me by surprise. I had never expected to see anything so gentle from him. Perhaps it's the alcohol loosening him up. If that's the case, I might as well take advantage of it. Does that mean you'll let me ask another question? I'll give you one more. I have to bite down on my lip to keep from grinning triumphantly. I only have one question, but I better make it a good one. What happened to your family? Are they still on Cursa? His eyes go hard, obviously not expecting that topic of all things. And that's 2 questions, newbie. His voice is rough, and for half a second I think he's going to get up and leave until he rolls his neck and fixes me with a hard stare. No family, no one left behind, no one that cares back home. And his voice is neutral, almost uninterested, and somehow that hurts more. I don't know if I have a family, if there's anyone waiting for me wherever I came from. I have no clue, but actually knowing that you have no one, that's worse on so many levels. And you don't have to be alone, flirt, or I care, flirt, or I'm sorry, let's just flirt with him. You don't have to be alone, I'm gonna say. It pains me to see him like this. He's strong. I see it as much in those sapphire eyes as I do in the set of his shoulders and the strength of his hands. But no one has to be strong all the time. It doesn't have to be like that. I find the words leaving my mouth before I can stop them, and Damon answers with the dip of his dark eyebrows. What? I mean, having no one. My face burns, and the dark rasp of laughter that escapes him surprises me. You're too much, you know that. If you were smart, you would turn and run as far and as fast as you can. Being with me will only bring you trouble. Oh my god. I shrug my shoulders, lips pursed defiantly, showing him that I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here, so what does that mean? Damon steps forward, his gaze carving a line from my lips to my eyes, and his breath warm on my face when he leans closer. Oh my god, dude. My throat tightens, chest heaving with short, sharp breaths as I try and fail to compose myself despite his closeness. I haven't quite figured it out yet. In any case, thanks, newbie. Okay. He backs away, and immediately my lungs flood with air as I breathe easily once again. I have no help of forming the words now, but I hope he knows I meant what I said. Not really. I really prefer June to anyone else on the ship. So changing the subject to something less morose, let's talk about your future now that I'm your boss and all. My boss? And that's right, kiddo, you picked me, now you gotta deal with the consequences. He winks at me lazily, and I give him a withering glare in return. And we're a small crew in a small ship with a large bounty on our heads. We can't afford having any leeches hanging around. They have a bounty on their heads? What? A bounty? What do you mean a bounty? And I'm not a leech. Honestly, I have plenty of bounties on my head. Took care of them all myself, but this one is complicated. And you are a leech. You've been draining our food and water up until now without lifting a finger. It's about time you make yourself useful around the ship. I don't mind pulling my own weight, but I don't have the first clue where to start. What would you have me do? He gives a suggestive grin. Oh no! His eyes going dark with what I can only imagine are the most sinful of thoughts. Please be serious. And sighing, Damon drains the last of his drink, his jaw clenched tight as he thinks it over, excuse me. And maybe you end up for a little bounty hunting? I could show you the ropes, you know. 150 ways to kill a man with a spoon and all that jazz. I let out a snort, rolling my eyes at the very idea. Bounty hunting? Don't you have to be a mercenary to get access to all that data? Yes, you do. And I stop abruptly, the shock hitting me like a brick wall. And what are we gonna find out? Who knows? I think I'm gonna end this episode here because I'm out of time for today. But I really thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate that you come here and watch my videos. Please leave a comment and a like and subscribe if you would like. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!